Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about behavioralism from our textbook. So basically, I was just going to do a quick rundown on kind of some of what the chapter talked about. So first, I want to talk about John Watson. He was a major aspect of the text. I was shocked to find out that he was originally a school principal. That was really shocking to me. And that he originally was going to study philosophy over psychology, but then that didn't end up happening. In the end, he ended up studying, this is from our book, he studied learning and changes in nerve fibers in the rat's cortex. That was his main focus when he was in doctoral school. And a lot of his work kind of originated from Charles Darwin. There was a bunch of history on him, but that was the main things that I pulled from our text. The next thing that they kind of talked about was comparative psychology, which I had never really heard of. But after reading what it was, it made sense. Comparative psychology is when you do things and test things on animals and relate it back to humans. So you're comparing the two. The only requirements that they had to have if they used a specific animal was that we had to have a common ancestry to kind of tie in that animal to humans. But a lot of times in comparative psychology, rats were used. The other thing that obviously was really interesting that we've all learned about was little Albert. In the text, it said that Watson believed that humans were born with 3 innate emotions: fear, rage, and love. So he wanted to test that with fear. So originally, Albert didn't have a fear of rats in general. But then he ended up pairing it with a loud, scary noise, and then through conditioning, doing that multiple times, Albert became fearful of the rat because of the loud noise. He also found that things that had similar qualities, like furriness, white, things of that sort, he ended up fearing as well. The text stated that included rabbits, dogs, fur coats, things in that nature. And then lastly, our book covered neo-behaviorism, and I never really understood what that meant, and I'm still a little confused on the difference between neo-behaviorism and behavioralism. But basically, the text stated that it was American psychology from 1930s to 1970s. They were mainly interested in theories and researching about learning and behavioral aspects. I mentioned that there were 3 psychologists that really had a large impact on psychology as a whole, and that was Edward Tolman, Clark Hull, and something Skinner. I'm not going to try to say that name. But overall, I think that our society as a whole in America really started understanding psychology through behavioralism because it was something that we could physically see change. A lot of psychology is in our head. Obviously, it's the brain and cognitive functions and what we're doing in our mental and conscious and unconscious states. But I think the reason why America liked behavioralism so much was because we could actually physically see it and see it happening. When you see someone conditioning an animal over time to respond to certain behaviors, you can actually physically see that change. Sometimes with psychology, you can't see those physical changes, and I think that's why a lot of people struggle with psychology over biology and chemistry and other things like that, because with behavioralism, it's tangible. Psychology in general isn't tangible. So yeah, that's a little bit over behavioralism based on our book and some thoughts.